Perfect. Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate the time you guys are spending here, and we're excited. A little bit different than the women. We haven't started yet, so we start kickoff here tomorrow with our first training session, and then play a little scrimmage tomorrow night. Black-white game here at 6 at Caniglia, and then Notre Dame on Sunday. So don't have much time to prepare, but everybody's in the same boat as us. So that's where we're at with our team right now.
We're very excited. I think everyone's very excited on our team. This isn't the first time we've had a really strong opponent, not only at home but away as well. But I think this time we're looking to seal the deal, not only in extra time but in first 90 minutes, get a win at home in front of a really good fan section.
Yeah, we have a lot of good teams on our schedule this year, and I can't say I've ever been this excited to open up this season. Not only because of the good teams, but also because the team we have this year. We have a really good team, and you could just tell from the training sessions that we've had from me and Weiler. Guys are committed. We have a lot of new guys, a lot of good freshmen, and this Notre Dame game that's coming up is something to look forward to.
Yeah, I thought it was a great year for us, Tony. And it was hard to tell because, we went one game further and got to the final, and as you mentioned, lost to Denver, but it was kind of a catch-22 because Denver happened to be last year the third best team in the country. So I think it really didn't get to show how good we were last year. I think I was telling the guys that all year, and they believed in themselves, but until Denver made that run, I think they realized, shoot, we were not just pretty close to winning the Summit League championship, but maybe that could have been us. And I think the guys are thinking next year that could be us. We probably weren't quite ready to make a run like that. But they had a great year. They won the regular season, and I think the cool thing is with the Summit League, how they do it. I don't maybe agree with it all the time, but this year it helped us out where we get to host the conference tournament this year. So I think that's a neat reward. The seniors left us last year because we lost some good seniors last year, some really good players. But I think they felt like not only did they help us win a conference championship, they kind of passed on the torch to these guys, saying, "Hey, you don't have to go play an altitude now in the championship. Let's do it on your home field."
Yeah, I think our field, our facility, and then just staying in Omaha is one of the biggest advantages, not only just in our conference, but for every team coming in the country. Teams aren't used to playing on our field, and we have a great support in the community. So when teams do come, it is a very difficult environment to play on. And I think looking forward to the conference tournament and then every home game throughout the year, it's going to be a very big advantage for us playing at home.
Yeah, like Coach and Weiler said, playing at our field is just something different than any other field you play on. The speed on the field is just something that always can help us. Playing at Denver was maybe the altitude, something. Everybody can have excuses, but we're just so excited to host it, and hopefully Denver can make it because we're making it, and we could beat them on our own field.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think it did. It motivated these guys. I know most of the guys for that. Hard part is now, it's not anymore, we're not sneaking up on anybody. So the way our conference sets up, it's very small. I think we have the smallest conference in Division I soccer. And so basically what that means is we have 5 games with IUPUI leaving our conference. And so, each one of those games, obviously do the math, 20%, you get a couple ties in there, a loss on the road, and it's going to be difficult to make it. Our games are always 1-goal games. They're overtime games, no matter who you're playing. If what a team's ranked, even Denver last year. Most of their conference games were 1-goal or overtime, so it's going to be tough for us to make it. I think the goal is at the end we are hosting it, which is great, but we still got to finish in the top 4 to make it. So I think these guys are smart enough to know that we got some work cut out, and that's why we see some of the non-conference games that are pretty challenging, so we can. At least when we are in a dogfight with somebody in the year in the conference, we've been battle tested with a Notre Dame or with a Creighton or Virginia Tech, something like that. So these guys can rely on their experience from last year, which is the good news. We got over the hurdle of getting wins in the conference. We won the conference. So I think now it's a little bit different mentality when you go into games. People are going into our game now thinking, gosh, if we can get a tie versus UNO at their place, what a great result. Where 2 years ago they would have been disappointed probably coming here and tying us, or 3 years ago. So I think it's a different mentality that opponents have coming in, but our guys, it starts with them. They have a different mentality if they expect to win games now, which is great. Oh, geez. We start tomorrow morning. We'll find out. It's gonna. I mean, first, it's hard to replace the guys we lost. We only lost 4 guys, but I tell you what, we lost the Summit League's best player in Foslo. He's playing professionally now in Europe. We lost our all-time leading goal scorer in the history of our program and our 4-year captain, in Mark Moulton. We lost Jake McCain, who, you know what, he wasn't healthy last year, but he has more energy than anybody on our team, which in soccer, you need some energy if you're going to play that sport. And the 4th guy, Lalo Gamboa, our kind of unsung hero. He led us in minutes last year. I don't think he stepped off the field 1 minute last year. So we are going to have to count on some guys to help us. You hope that with the combination of new players and with returning players maybe that haven't played a lot of minutes, they had their chance in the spring. So you're hoping with a combination of those 2 types of players, new recruits and returning players that haven't maybe had the experience that some guys have had, you hope that we can try to replace those guys, but it'll be tough. I never really try to count on freshmen. I think I learned that a long time ago. As soon as you get excited about a freshman and count on a freshman, you're really saying, God, he's going to be our leading goal scorer. He's going to be this. You're really disappointed a couple months into the season. So, if they help us, the new guys, it's a bonus to us because I think we have a core group that return that, they're going to want their spots. They're going to say, hey, no new guy's going to come in and take my spot. And so it's always very competitive the first 5 or 6 days in preseason. These guys know that. Just got to make sure health-wise we're okay tomorrow night. But we've had some injuries before in the black-white game. So it's cool seeing these guys up here. These guys are great stories. Jacob's a 5th-year senior. He's got his degree. He graduated from UNO. He's doing his master's program here. 2.5 years ago, I was having a conversation with Jacob about maybe transferring to a Division II or Division III school or NAIA school because he wasn't playing at all. And I don't want to see guys unhappy because of playing time, so we really tried to help Jacob out. And I said, I'll have you here for 8 years, 9 years. I love this kid, but I want to see him play. And he said, Coach, I'm going to keep on trying. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to get on the field. And he's a captain now for our team, and Xavier as well. Had some issues health-wise and had to go back home for a year, and to see him bounce back to where he's at now, you can just see it in his face, see it in his body. He's back to where he was, and we're expecting big things out of him, and but he holds himself more accountable than anybody else. So it's neat seeing these guys up here with us. I think will give us some leadership that we'll need for these new guys coming in.
I think it would be easy to say that it hasn't changed, but Mark Moulton is someone I really look up to as a friend and as a teammate, and he's been a leader on our team now for 4 years. And so with losing Mark just graduating, naturally there's a big change that happens in the program. And so we've had to do a little bit of soul searching and kind of find our own way without Mark. And I think last spring in the beginning it took a little bit of time, and towards the end we started to navigate people's personalities a little more. And now throughout the summer, guys have been taking leadership into their own hands. Xavier, myself, some of the older guys, Denzel, Zach, Cole, guys like that have been really stepping up and helping out, making sure our team is prepared for the season. And so I think it has changed, and I think that guys have become more of an adult kind of person because of that. So I think that's only going to pay dividends in the first week of the season and the last week of the season. I think we're going to be more prepared, and we're going to be more responsible on and off the field. So I think it's, unfortunately, obviously I love Mark, but I think fortunately for us that it's given other people opportunities to grow.
Yeah, going off what he said, one of my best friends is Lalo Gamboa, and just being with him for 4 years and seeing how he acts on the field, off the field, one of the guys that I've seen work the hardest on the field and off the field, one of the best players I've played with. He won't get that many goals, he won't get that many assists, but you never see him stop running. You always see him tackling the ball, you always see him doubling down on people. You can't say enough good things about Lalo. So as you asked about leadership, I don't really think you need to think about it that much. I think there's just so much excitement during this year because we have the conference tournament here. We have Notre Dame, top 10 team. Last year, they're number 1 team in the country. So, I think everybody's on board for this year, and I just can't say enough that how excited I am for this.
Yeah, gosh, it feels like those guys with Seth and Elvira particularly, because they came a semester early in January. It feels like they've been there now for a couple of years, and it feels like they're almost juniors. So thinking of those guys as 18 years old and sophomores, it's still it's hard to think of that, but they're still young. But you're right, they've learned a lot. I mean, Seth, went through. Now he's got 2 springs in the fall. Elvira 2 springs in the fall. So we're for sure count on those guys. Those guys are more experienced guys. I was telling these guys when we met today, I think almost about 40% of our team has been here a semester or less. You say that's a very young team. So when you mentioned Seth and Elvira, I feel like when you say that, yeah, you're right. They just kind of came last year, but those are probably 2 of the older guys, more experienced guys on the team. So we're going to count on those guys for sure on the field. And then Emmanuel, I'm excited about him because he was a junior college player who got here late. And my experience with junior college players are that it usually takes them a year to kind of figure things out, and then you don't get much out of them their junior year, but their senior year, if they're good enough, they have a really good senior year. And for Mono, things just kind of picked up with about October of last year, and newcomer of the year in the Summit League, so he ended up having a great year. He had a good spring. He's changed his body even more. I mean, he's built, like a soldier. I don't know what, he's built like a specimen. If you could sculpt some guy out, that's what he looks like, of just a man. And he's really leaned out even now, and he looks like more of a soccer player. And I think this could be a big year for him. And he's him and Elvira. It's funny that we never really, both those guys are strikers. Some teams have a hard time getting one striker. I think we have 2, and hopefully maybe even some more depth. But to get those guys on the same page, there was really, when Elvira was playing well in the beginning, Mono was getting used to things. When Mono started playing well, Elvira was in a little funk. And by the end of the year, we finally got those guys playing together. And I think that was the best stretch we had. And then just like that, Denver scores a couple goals in the last 13 minutes and the season's over. So I'm excited to at least see those guys in some kind of role together on the field. We saw a little bit in the spring, but spring's just different. That was a pretty good year by Foslo. I mean, he had some professional-type goals, and, I mean, just you always hope that, with seniors, they already have enough pressure on themselves, these guys, so I never, want a year like that for Foslo. We weren't expecting a year like that, but for him to put his basically team on the shoulders and say, once he hit one free kick goal and then he hit another one, like any sport, confidence it's so big in players' mentality. Coaches can just kind of screw things up with players, and players, once they get rolling, it's like just shut up as a coach, don't say anything, let them play. And Foslo became really, really confident, and it was like I felt like any free kick that he had, he felt like he was going to score a goal, and that's the hardest thing to do in soccer, score goals. And so I don't know. Jacob, a center back, if he scores 9 goals, I think it's a really good year for a center back. Yeah. Could be a record year. I'll take 1 or 2, but 9. Xavier, a midfielder. I think Xavier, we finally got him shooting the ball more. He likes to pass. He likes to dribble. I think he's realized at the end of the day, soccer players, if you're in the final third of the field, you got to score goals, you got to shoot, you got to create stuff. So Xavier's done a good job this spring actually shooting the ball. So I think he'll bear some weight on wanting to score some goals and set up goals for our team. But we have some interesting guys too. We have a transfer, not a freshman. I know you mentioned before about recruits. We have an interesting one. We have a transfer from Xavier University. 1 year left. That's all he has. He was a 2-year All-American in junior college at Tyler Junior College. He went to Xavier, and they wore their number 10, which is a big number for our sport, and they were expecting a lot out of him. And it's funny, as I said before, junior college, it's hard that first year to kind of make things translate. His name is Brahan, and originally from Peru, came from Atlanta. But he's interesting because he kind of got through that fall where it was kind of up and down with Xavier, first guy off the bench, started some games. And then this spring, he had a really good spring for Xavier, and I think they were starting to see him turn the corner of this is the guy we recruited. And now we're fortunate enough, I think it was just, shake hands, and, it wasn't a good fit for him, and he's coming here. So I think he's a guy that I'm excited to coach him. Our first day's tomorrow. I've seen him on tape. I've seen him play online, but besides that, I haven't really, seen him in person or coached him, but I know he's going to be one that will really, I think, in the attacking part of the field, I think can help us out and sort some things out that maybe some things that Foslo did. But Foslo, to replicate a year like that, it's going to be tough.